G'day, folks. Peter here. Welcome back to Mondays Down Under on the Talking Pools podcast. Now, I should slow that down. I was told recently by one of our uh, hosts in America that apparently we speak a little bit too quickly for Americans to understand sometimes.
Even me?
No, but so we'll try to be mindful. Bear in mind that's going to completely leave our memory in about 2 seconds into the discussion. But Lee, Shane, how are you both?
Very well, Peter.
Very well, Peter.
Shane? Okay. I'm
Now-
feeling a bit beaten up because of some of the jobs I've done lately. Physically just beaten up.
Got to make sure you
So,
get a rest before summer, Pete. You need to recharge the
will.
batteries.
I will. Don't know when, but it will happen. But no, just a few jobs that, a few media filter changes, which isn't a huge deal, but when you do several in a row, that adds up. Underground pipe repairs, very awkward angles. So let's just say my chiropractor's on fast dial with me at the moment.
Look after your back and your
I will
knees.
be. I am.
Need an ice bath, Peter.
Hey?
Need an ice bath
Oh.
or a nice warm spa pool.
Actually, I've got one job coming up next week. I've got to change a light and bracket in a pool that's too deep to do from the surface. So I'll be dropping the water down and going in there to do it. And that got me thinking two things. First of all, I might buy those waders that fly fishermen wear. I reckon one of those would be a good idea. The other thing is through this coming summer, I plan on swimming every day and not stopping as the weather cools down so I can acclimatise myself to cold water so jobs like this aren't a problem. Now,
Okay.
it's nice to make yourself a promise like that. Whether or not I'll actually have the commitment to follow through, anyone's guess. But I'll leave it in hope.
Lee and myself will be on your case, don't you worry.
Oh, I'm sure I should not have mentioned that.
My husband did actually buy a dry suit, so one of the wetsuits that you actually wear clothes underneath, for when he had to get in pools during winter and during the day, so like for work. So
I think Shane's approach is better though. It's winter. I'm not jumping in a pool.
Yeah.
But I
guaranteed. Guaranteed, a hydrostatic valve, if it is going to leak, it is going to leak in the middle of winter.
Yep.
Because, of course, cold water makes the gasket hard, it restricts. It's, guaranteed, always winter. Don't get to swim in them in summer as much. Everyone wants you to swim in their pools and do the repairs in winter, but not so much do the offers come in summer. So
yeah. But for me, it's more time critical because a lot of the pools I work on are real estate or rentals or for the property manager or house flippers, people who buy an old rundown house and want to do it up. I've got a few of those on at the moment. And they're really good jobs because although the pools are quite often an absolute mess and a pigsty, typically you end up replacing all the equipment. And I like replacing equipment. I like being paid for replacing equipment. Let's be honest here.
yes.
But underground spar jet repair, this was on a spar jet in a bench on a pool today. When I got contacted by the customer, he asked, do you do this type of job? I said, yeah. And he says, oh, thank goodness, nobody else is willing to do it. And my first thought was, what's wrong? What's so hard about this job? But also, why aren't these people doing that? And we've all got certain types of job that we don't like, we don't enjoy, but they're still worth doing. So this underground pipe repair was, first of all, a good opportunity to give some training in it to one of my technicians. He'd never done a job like this before, and it was tricky, fiddly, awkward. And I said, look, I'm out here because I'll give you tips and tricks. Let's get it done right, and you'll learn from it. But then, as we were doing it, we cut one bit of pipe, at the other end of the pipe pulled out of the next spar jet. I'm assuming they didn't prime it when they glued it, which is common in some factories. The Venturi controller, the air valve for the aeration of the spar jets, that bit of pipe just fell out and was all warped and twisted. I have no idea what they thought when they were putting that in. So that's now been properly plumbed up. And my guy with me said, look, this is a hard job. I get why a lot of people don't want to do it. He said, why do we? And I said, well, first of all, this is an hourly rate plus parts. So we get paid for that. Secondly, there's going to be a green pool recovery because it's been sitting half full of water for a while. Green pool recovery, that's an opportunity to get some income. His filter element, I can tell you now, is clogged. It's going to need replacing. His pool light isn't working. His pool blanket is absent and the roller is broken. I said, that's potentially, thousands of dollars. And he wants a robotic cleaner or suction cleaner. So that's potentially thousands of dollars of sales. And all of those things are easy. Replacing a light, getting a blanket delivered for him, replacing a filter element, basic green pool recovery. I'm not talking swamp, I'm talking the water's got a green tinge to it. What are some of the jobs that you guys don't necessarily enjoy but do see the value in doing?
Buffer Zone Systems are the pool and spa industry specialists with a complete range of software for pool shops, service companies and commercial aquatic facilities. With more features and integrations than any other pool industry software, you really need to reach out for a one-on-one demonstration. Contact Buffer Zone today.
Media changes. Oh, sorry, Lee. What? I would say media changes as well. They can be quite disgusting to do depending on the age of the media. And it's definitely not the most pleasant thing to handle. We were discussing earlier your way of doing it, Peter. We'll come to that in a minute. But usually for myself, say the MPV off, the majority over here are top mounts, sand filters. So pop the MPV off, vacuum out as much water as possible using the standpipe, and then wet vac out the media and bag it up. And check your laterals, check all the internals, make sure they're not compromised depending on the age of the filter itself. And then basically fill it up. I mean, depending on the location of the filter, give you an example. We have one, I actually got help from another pool company. His name is also Shane as well. And it was a commercial pool. It was only a small commercial pool, but they had to, this goes back to one of our other episodes where it's a confined pump shed. They're using liquid chlorine, liquid acid, no ventilation in there. The fumes had actually corroded down the bolts, which are holding in the MPV. The bolts, basically, they've been stripped, so we had to remove the two filters and install two new ones. Now, it was a bit of a job because the pump shed itself was probably maybe 4.5 feet high. So for nearly 5 hours, we're just crouched over.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the movie Lord of the Rings. It was, I wish I was a hobbit. I am quite short, but I wish I was a hobbit in that situation. But from what I had heard is the company was a body corporate. They had had two previous quotes, and the quotes were huge, like treble what we had quoted for. And I can see, it's fine if the job is going to be hard and it's difficult, and it's going to be a pain in the ass, then you quote what it's worth. You take that into consideration, and we did that. But to hear back that the other quotes were way up here, that gives you an idea that they did not want to do that job. And if they were going to do it, they're making sure they're getting a good pay from it. But I know there's a lot of companies over here that just do not want to do media changes.
And we never we never minded with media changes. I think the hardest thing with media changes can sometimes be actually getting rid of the media. So, because like if you have to take it to a tip, you've got to pay additional tip fees. Obviously, you build that into your quote, but it's just another part of makes it more laborious. So, the things that we
sorry, Lee, I haven't actually. I think I've done 2 media changes since I started this particular business about 5.5 years ago. Because when I go through the cost of getting everything out, or the old media, I replace the internals, standpipe, hub, and laterals, regardless of how they look. Because if there's a little crack and you end up with the media back in the pool, I'll be out there having to sort that out free of charge. So I tell them, best practice, replace all the internals. Generally, the MPV needs at least a service, if not replacement. So I get them the price. This is what a media change done right with all of these extras is. Compare that to the price of changing, swapping out the entire filter. Very, very few people opt for the media change.
But you say you're not changing the media, and I get you're actually not changing the media in the existing filter, but you are removing the old media you're putting in new media. You just happen to be putting it in a different filter. So the labour is probably actually slightly more your way, because if you've got to replumb, all that sort of thing. But yeah, so technically you are doing a media change, but just into a new filter. You're still handling the old, crappy, dirty, smelly, horrible stuff. And I tell you what, if the commercial pool filters that I have seen over the years with thick body fats and greases in the tops of it's just makes me want to vomit just thinking about it. It's horrible. So like, I get that they're horrible jobs, but it was actually something we didn't mind doing. It was a great winter job. And to combat that problem with potentially the filter laterals or something like that letting go, we actually used to have a disclaimer on our quotes to say, hey, your filter is over 10 years old. If this should happen, we won't be responsible for it, sort of thing. So just to help minimize that risk. But the things that we actually hated were spas, and I mean portable spas.
Amen.
Trying to find a leak in one of those is an absolute bastard of a job.
Yeah.
Like,
especially if it's got spray, expandable foam.
They're the hot springs spas. The hot spring spas, they love to put that foam, that expansion foam in. And look, I'm sure it's a great insulator. That extra foam in the cabinet really helps hold the heat in with the spa, but trying to find a leak in that thing is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Like, seriously.
When you get there and 1 or 2 sides of the spa are pushed up against walls.
So
you can't even access it. And it's full, so you can't.
It's in-ground.
Or it's built into the deck. And they haven't left panels, like access panels. The amount of times that we've seen that over the years, it's like, they're either pushed right into the corner of a house with brick walls on each side, or they've had a retaining wall built around 2 sides of it, or they've decked around it. The things that the people just don't think that you actually, at some point in time, you will need to access underneath those panels. I always used to say to our clients that let it be known that was their intention. Please, when you put a deck around your spa, put access panels on each side.
Yep.
You might not always need it on each side because there might not be equipment there, but you never know when you're going to have a leak on that side. We actually had somebody who had a deck or a spa that they had inherited when they bought the house, and it had a deck built around 2 sides and retaining wall on the other 2 sides. So it was an absolute nightmare to get access. And we actually said to them, you will have to get a crane to lift this spa out of place so that we can then access it to work on it, and then you'll have to crane it back in. Mind you, given the age of the spa, it really, and we said to them, we have no idea how much the repair is going to be because we don't know how many different places it's leaking from. So we just said to them, your money might be better spent actually putting a new spa in and cutting the deck out of one side, and don't do that again.
I had a very similar one recently, just a few months ago. I was called out by a real estate agent I do a lot of work for. Multi-million-dollar apartment, views on one side over the river, the other side view of the city, massively expensive. And they had this spa on the balcony. And three sides of them were fully bricked up. One side of it where the equipment was, and it was a shambles of an installation. As admittedly spas often are because of lack of space. But I've never seen a cartridge filter installed horizontally before.
Oh, you're kidding.
Never seen that before since. New one on me. Little panel to get into that. There was a gas heater on one side, and it had it was bricked up on both sides. They'd put a roof on top of this thing, and there was a little access hatch in the front. Now, there was a gas plumber there at the time who I've known for years. I said, can you give me your opinion on this? And I showed him, that's a gas heater. Do you reckon that complies? And he looked at it and he says, no, that's just shocking. I said, look, on the quote, I said, look, there's definitely a leak because in the bedroom ceiling underneath the balcony, you can see water coming through exactly where the spa is.
Oh.
I said, the only way to do this is literally to cut every pipe to the equipment, get the equipment out, lift the spa up, hoping there's no sealant or anything that's bonded it down. And I said, we might be looking at replacing every single fitting and pipe and hose and you name it in that spa. That with new equipment, because the equipment, you could see it was all corroded out. And possibly a new heater. I said, I'm going to guess $10,000 to $20,000. You better bet. Plus, you'll need to have somebody come in, clean the floor under it, and seal it properly. I said, your better bet is just get a crew in there, cut the thing in half to get it down the stairs. You can't get a crane to this balcony. And just cut the thing in half, rip the equipment out, take it down, throw it to the tip, get someone in to retile. That's your best bet. And no, they didn't go ahead with the repair, so hopefully they did do that. But how do you quote on a job like that? I can't see 90% of it. There's obviously at least one leak, and a significant one. And that's one I really didn't want to do. So I made sure there was going to be plenty of money in it.
We're going back to your filter change, Peter. You mentioned some of it before we started recording, and how you remove your media. Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of shop vac because I find the stainless steel rusts, so you don't get a long life out of it, even if you rinse it out, which I do after every use. So what I do with a media filter, I get a reciprocating saw, sawzall, cut a big hole in the side of it, work it out, then use a trenching shovel, a very narrow shovel, to dig the old media out. I'll then also cut the standpipe so I can remove all the internals and get all of the sand properly. The way I get it back to the truck, though, unless I can dump it on site, which sometimes yes, sometimes no, I use a thing from the hardware store or the garden centre called a grow bag. It's probably about a 30-litre odd bag. It's made of a felty kind of material. It's got handles on it, and it's designed for putting small trees into, fill it with soil, put them in the ground, and it perishes over time, so the tree can grow through it. But they're self-draining. So if I put the old media into that, put it aside, do the rest of the job, by the time I get back to it, most of the water's drained away. So that makes it a lot lighter. The other thing with them is they've got a flat bottom, so they stand very well. So I can stack, 2, 3, 4, depending on the weight, onto a trolley and take them out. Because carrying these bags, they're heavy and they take their toll. Anytime I can use a trolley, I do. That's what I find the easiest way to get rid of an old filter.
That's one of the worst things. Another pain in the ass part about removing the wet sand or the wet glass, is just the weight of it. Yeah, it certainly puts a bit of a strain on your back. But you said that you had one day you had 3 booked in one day.
Well, we now have a policy that any one of us will only ever do 1 media filter per day. There was one day, I guess it was a year or 2 ago, and I had 3 booked in for the one day. And first 2 I did, they were quite awkward in their position and I was feeling it. Just pulled up to the 3rd one and I thought, I don't know how I'm going to get through this job today. As I was speaking with the customer at the front, there were these really big drops of rain started to fall. And that, in our location, that tells you it's going to be some pretty damn heavy rain. And the rain just started bucketing and I thought, yes, I've got a way out. Then there was lightning starting. I thought, you little ripper. So I said to the customer, look, it's just not safe to work during a lightning storm. I can't glue pipe reliably in the rain. Can I just leave your stuff in your garage? I'll get back in a day or 2, sort it out then. And just went home, had an early knockoff and again, called my chiropractor.
No, I love the idea of your what do you call them? Grow bags.
Grow bags.
Yeah.
In Bunnings, pack of 4, I think, cost me something like $20. You get a lot of media changes out of them. I haven't actually worn them out. I lost one though when my brother came around, saw some zeolite, and he thought, oh, I like that. So he pinched my bloody grow bag full of old shitty zeolite for using in the garden. I've got to ask him when he's going to bring that damn thing back.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. We actually used to use daisy pool covers. I think most of us, especially in the Southern Hemisphere, will be aware of daisy. So daisy pool covers actually made for a period of time there. I don't know if they still do, but they do make winter covers for the pools where they're sort of pegged down around the pool and they allow water to flow through them, but not the leaves. Awesome covers. But they, out of that material, they actually used to make some sandbags under the principle or the theory that because the mesh would allow the water to drain through on the pool when the cover's on a pool, that it would do the same with filter media. We had them. They were good. We did find that they clogged quite rapidly with the gunk and everything in the media. But your grow bags sound like probably a better option because that's what they're designed to do.
They've got handles. I used to use old firewood bags that are kind of a plastic weave because they were self-draining, but they're just bloody awkward to handle.
Yeah, the daisy bags do have handles and they're actually very large, but I think probably too large. They actually probably hold a couple of bags of sand or the equivalent of, which then add water to that, and they're probably too heavy. Yeah. So we did actually do a really big, few really big filters for commercial pools where we actually had to get in sucker trucks, the sewage pumping trucks. Yeah, sucker trucks. To suck out the filter media. So that was the best thing because you didn't have to take the media anywhere. But it was probably the 40 odd bags of sand that you had to cart there that was a pain in the neck. We just took the whole pallet, so it was really good. But a lot of physical offloading.
That sucker truck story reminds me of a photo I've seen a few times online. It's a picture of a big water truck and it said septic tanks emptied, swimming pool filled, not same truck. I thought it like you would hope not.
Yes, yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one. So I think we were probably fortunate, in some ways unfortunate, that in our area where we were, we didn't actually have any other pool shops nearby. Like the nearest one was 40-minute drive, and their service department didn't do a lot. So unfortunately for us, it was a case of if there was a job that needed to, and there wasn't anybody else that we could, it's not the sort of thing we could say, no, we don't want to do it, go away, because there was no one else to do it. And in some ways that's a great thing, because obviously we've got the market cornered, and that's terrific. But in the other respect too, you get to do the jobs you really, you got to say yes to everything, and it's really hard sometimes that you really don't want to say yes. We did though asbestos sheeting pools, the vinyl lined in-ground pools. We used to say no to those because they were asbestos. With putting new liners in, you have to attach your new extrusion around the top that the liner hooks into, and yeah, we weren't willing to do that. But those pools actually ended up getting fiberglassed. There was actually a local fiberglasser that would actually fiberglass the vinyl lined asbestos pools. So still got to keep their pool, just with a vinyl fiberglass lining instead of vinyl.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'd forgotten all about those asbestos pools until you mentioned it on an episode a couple of months ago. I thought it's been a long time. But yeah, making sure that OH&S is met is critical. You know, don't drill into asbestos or so forth. But also making sure it's done right. Like I say, I won't change media without changing the internals. I had one customer contact me 3-4 years ago, I think it was. I don't know, I've lost all track of time though over the last few years. But he contacted me, he said, I need a media change, but I want you to save the gravel. I mentioned this to you once before. I want to reuse the gravel. I said, well, if you've got gravel, that's going to be years old, decades old. Best practice is the lot. And he said, nope, that's how I want you to do it. I said, yeah, I'm going to pass on that. And he says, well, but it's what I want. And the line I often use with people is, look, I'll do the job properly or not at all. They're the two options.
Yep.
And reusing gravel as a substrate, which is probably decades old, just not going to happen.
And I can imagine it's not that expensive either to replace it with new.
Well, I recommend glass media, as you know, putting the coarse at the bottom, the fine at the top. I don't even know if anyone even sells gravel for pool filter use anymore. It's not on a price list ever.
Well, in 25 years, well, I probably saw a couple of them early on when we did media changes where there was gravel in the bottom. We actually never put gravel in the bottom, and I don't think it was common. It's been common practice for a good couple of decades. So, yeah. But I did actually. I had a client that actually, or I should say, he wasn't a client of mine, but he used to build unit complexes and put in pools in these holiday unit complexes, and he used to fill the sand filters with beach sand.
There was a guy here who used to do that, and it was useless.
Oh, it's horrible. And so very quickly we would work out that there was circulation and filtration issues, and they wondered why their pools wouldn't vacuum properly and things like that. And it's just like, I
was literally just about to ask, is sand still a popular product over there?
Yeah. Not beach sand. So typically I think it's 1 mil is the CD. Yeah. It's 1 mil, isn't it, Peter? 1 to 2 mil media, filter medium size.
Sand would probably be somewhere around there. I use, but as I say, I use glass.
We use glass.
Sand, if somebody's really wants to save that $50, then yeah, I'll offer sand. But no, glass is better in my experience. There are some pool shops and pool service guys out there who they tell customers, no, don't waste your money on glass. There's no difference between that and sand. Well, if you look at the micron rate, the fineness of the filtration, glass is superior by far.
Mm.
The longevity, superior by far. Every once in a while, most people seem to say that it backwashes better.
Well, glass is naturally negatively charged, so therefore it releases the dirt much quicker. That's as I understand it.
Yeah, that's a topic for a different.
Oh, write that one down, Pete, so we're not struggling for a topic at that time.
Yeah. When you want to gather particles, use a clarifier, which is a cationic or positively charged polymer.
Yep.
So it brings it together. Would the negative charge on the media actually, I mean, yes, it'd backwash better, but would it have an issue? Is it purely mechanical, or is it that charge that holds it in or repels it?
True.
So that's something for us to.
And glass is non-porous. Is that the other thing? Glass is non-porous, so it actually doesn't harbour the bacteria the way sand does. That's the other thing that I believe. I don't know. Somebody out there will probably correct me if I'm wrong, I hope. But that's what I have been led to believe.
And I know exactly who that will be. Anyway, that's one. Yes, I'll send you a message about. I'll send the group a message, and we'll look into that one. I shouldn't pick. He's all right.
We appreciate all our listeners.
We do, absolutely, and we appreciate when our listeners give us topics to discuss.
Yes.
At talkingpools@gmail.com.
Actually, we're all going to be at the Splash Trade Show in 2 weeks' time now.
Yeah.
So, one, if you're going to the Splash Trade Show, listeners out there, look out for us. If you know what we look like, that is. We will have our What the Flock Talking Pools hats on. And if they arrive in time from Revved Up Apparel, our Talking Pools shirts. So fingers crossed on those that they make it over the mighty ocean in time for the trade show. So yeah, come and see us. We'd love to interview you for the podcast. We'd love to hear your topics. Come and tell us about the wonderful things you've found at the trade show. And yeah, we'd love to talk to you.
And some nice pool horror stories.
Yeah.
Hey, what's the most disgusting thing you've ever pulled out of a pool?
Oh, we could think of a few there.
Maybe we'll save that as a Halloween episode or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Smell of that dead sheep.
Yes. I'll save mine for then. Talking of jobs that you don't want to do.
Yeah. Yes, we will save that one for another time. So, yeah, I think that some jobs might be difficult, awkward, painful, unpleasant, revolting, but I think it's important not to walk away from them too easily. And just tell the customer outright no. The exception is if you don't know how to do it. It is better to say, no, that's not something we do, not a service we provide, rather than saying, yes, I can do that, getting there and ballsing it up completely.
Absolutely.
That can bite you hard in multiple ways.
Yes, know your limitations.
100%.
Yep. And also from an OH&S perspective, know your limitations. So
Yes.
Looking after yourself and your staff, you don't need to take on a job that's going to put you at risk.
100%. One of the flipper houses that I'm working on at the moment, replaced the equipment where so far there's been about 10 hours of scooping just to get crap out of this pool. But yeah, this customer, he seems to think, oh, just get it done, work harder, work faster. Well, no, there's a limit to how many hours you can work at full capacity. I'm not going to injure myself for the sake of this job. But yeah, he had other people tell him that, oh no, this is too big a job. They've missed out on several $1,000s worth of equipment sales.
Mm.
The one this morning with the underground pipe, you know, these other companies have missed out on thousands of dollars worth of equipment and parts and accessories. So, yeah, it's not just about the job itself, it's about what that job leads to in terms of
Yep.
other work on the job. And if the customer's happy, in my experience, they will recommend you to others.
Hopefully, we're not as difficult a job for the others that they recommend. But yeah, no, look, and the thing is to like charge accordingly. You are an expert in your field. Respect yourself, respect your team, your knowledge, your expertise. And if a job is difficult, yeah, you need to be well remunerated for that. So make sure that you take it into account.
Absolutely.
It's got to be worth your trouble.
Oh, yeah. So what, Shane, what jobs have you got coming up that you're not looking forward to?
Well, I've got a few leaks on the go at the moment that I need to try and complete before we fly out of the country. So no pressure in the next, what day are we on? It's Friday tomorrow.
Almost 2 weeks.
Yeah, but we're actually going over to the Gold Coast early, so we're having a holiday for that week. So my body is crying out for a holiday. Sammy's crying out for a holiday. We were actually thinking about it. Our last holiday together was before children, so it was 5 years ago. And then obviously started a business, had kids, one thing led to another, and yeah, they were like, oh, we really, really need to take a holiday now.
Yeah.
So hopefully you can get these finish off these leaking pools before we go on holiday.
Now, Shane, how many extra days are you having? Other than the trade show days, how many extra days are you having in Australia for your holiday?
Sunday to Sunday, we're there for.
Oh, okay.
So 2 days at a trade and then the rest of it's family time.
Oh, good.
I probably wouldn't be in the good books if we were only just taking 1 day either side of the trade show.
Absolutely. I was making sure you were taking enough holidays. I actually remember we had a similar situation where I think it had been like probably 5 years since we'd had, or actually probably longer than that, since we'd had a holiday that didn't include a trade show or a conference or a work attachment. And I think I've spoken about this before, and I know you and I have, where I had said that I was just so run down. I got to Christmas and we were so busy, such a chaotic time of the year, that I went down to my travel agent and said, book me a holiday. And I said, I want to go to Fiji. It'll be in winter. Like, I've got to have something to look forward to. And so I said, and I want it to be for at least 10 days. And I don't want to have to worry about anything else. Like, I don't want to have to worry about meals or anything like that, the kids club or anything. I want everything paid for up front. So it was an all-inclusive. And the best thing was she actually booked me 2 7 days, which was pay for 5, stay for 7. So we actually got 2 lots of these. We went for 2 weeks. It was just fantastic. Wow. Best holiday I'd had, and actually the kids still talk about it. So, and it was a great holiday. But you get to a point where you've really got to plan your breaks, and I think that's really important for everyone. We work hard, and especially when you've got your own business, you very rarely take time out and time off, and you do end up running yourself down. So it's really important for your physical and your mental well-being and your family relationships too, that you do take that time. So encourage everybody out there to do that if they can.
Well, I'm booked, I believe, to fly over on the Monday. Tuesday, do whatever I like. Wednesday, Thursday, trade show. Friday, probably a bit of catching up with people, networking, stuff like that. Then come back on the Saturday. So, nice. Kind of a day of holiday Start there.
Well, I'm in Brisbane
Maggie
already.
Choo's, best restaurant in Broadbeach.
What was that?
Maggie Choo's. It's an Asian fusion restaurant. Food is
Okay.
phenomenal.
Oh, well, maybe we might have to have a team meeting there.
I think so. Do that.
I'm arriving on the Monday. I've got running a training day for one of our national franchise groups on the Tuesday. And then Wednesday and Thursday, I'm at conference all day from 7 in the morning, probably till 10 at night, or at the trade show from 7 in the morning till 10 at night, probably, with my IRL learning hat on, and Spaza, of course, and you guys. So I'm looking forward to meeting you both in person.
Same.
Nice.
So
Yes. Anyway, until then, or until next time, you guys have a bloody good week.
thanks,
You
Pete.
too.
You too.
Take care.
See you guys.
Ciao.
See you, everyone.